Okay, guys, welcome to the Men's Club breakfast. We'll get going right now.
Dr. Lee is a Vietnam vet, U.S. Navy.
Gentlemen and ladies, would you please rise? Face the colors as we recite Pledge of Allegiance. Veterans are welcome to salute. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sophia, oh Lord, Dativotenu, Atikva shnot alpayim, liyotam chofshi be'arzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim, liyotam chofshi be'arzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. Amen.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you. Len Berman is going to come up and lead us in the Motzi. Len, can you use this?
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Thank you, Ed.
Good morning, gentlemen. Couple things we have to talk about. One would be on September 12th, we have the Science History Institute trip with spouses should you want to have a cheap date. And it's in Philadelphia, and it's a well-kept secret. Most people have no idea about the Science History Institute. It's rather large. It's got a tremendous amount of displays, and we're going to have a private tour. We've got 15 people signed up already, and if you want to go, I need to know by tomorrow. I announced it at the last meeting. I have to know by tomorrow. Some of us are going to take the high-speed line and just walk a few blocks, and some people are going to drive. So if you're interested, I'll have a paper that you can sign. It's always interesting. I mean, it's, those of us that are even borderline science nerds would really, really like it. Okay, that's number one. Number two, pantry purchases. As you know, we have approximately 20 or so people here in the men's club who volunteer at the Jewish Family Service and Children Pantry, right? Whatever. Some of us work at the pantry actually helping to sort food and such. Some people drive people to doctor's appointments, some deliver food, but there's many opportunities. So the point I'm making is we are not just a breakfast club. And if you only come for breakfast, you're selling yourself short. Most people in this room are looking for things to do. And if we stop doing things, we slow down a lot. So you're not just helping people, you're helping yourself when you get involved. Another thing about the pantry is they have a lot of funding. So they get an awful lot of things that they order and have delivered from wholesalers even. However, there's some materials that they don't get money for and we buy it. Simple things, toiletries, toothbrushes, toothpaste, things like that. We found the best place is Dollar General. There's hundreds of Dollar Generals. I go to 4 of them along the White Horse Pike. If you have an interest in helping to purchase things, and it's not with your own money, you get reimbursed, let me know and we'll try to get it worked out so that you can do something. All right, another thing is science history. I told you about that, last chance. And there's 2 more things. Nelson, if you could come up, please. It's about IDF donations and about flagging. Now, before he gets started, I'll tell you about something new about the IDF donations. Basically, their logistics are nothing like ours. There's many times that soldiers will need something. Could be something as simple as a tourniquet, waterproof gloves. You never know. And we know people who get these things to the soldiers through the logistic officers of their particular unit. Now, we buy these things. Sometimes we'll do it through the JCC because they'll have tax-free status with Amazon. Sometimes we buy at other places. But if you want to make a donation for these purchases, and the last purchase we did came to a little over $3,600. And yeah. There are several ways you can do it. Of course, you can write a check. The other way you can do it is through your required minimum distribution, or if you have a Jewish Community Foundation donor advised fund, there's ways of having them donate it so that we can make the purchase. If you're not sure how to do this type of thing, on the front table, there's this paper, this yellow sheet, and it's got two things on it. And this was put together figuring that you aren't technically a genius when it comes to how to do the computers. Step by step. If you have a required minimum distribution, that's an easy one. That's on the back. There's two parts. So take this if you're thinking you'd like to make a donation through one of those two ways. And of course, if you want to do it with just a check, you give it to our treasurer, Stan. And now I'll turn it over to Nelson. Nelson? Oh, tell him about this.
Well, after I talk about that. Good morning, everybody. My name's Nelson. Good morning. Yeah. My name's Nelson Mellitz. September 11th, 2001. It's been 23 years. Could you believe that? 23 years since that occurred. I've heard a statistic the other day saying 100 million Americans, U.S. citizens, were not alive at that point. For the last 3 years, actually the last 2 years, and this will be the third year, we've been putting over 3,000 flags outside the JCC. How many people passed away, or were killed rather, I should say, during 9/11? Anybody remember?
36. Almost 3,900.
The official number is 2,967. So we put out 3,000 flags. Some of them break down. We want to make sure we put out a little bit extra. We're going to do that again. Just think about the people passing by, and we have the high school not too far away from here, that don't know what 9/11 is or didn't experience it. Do they teach about 9/11 in the schools? I don't know. They don't teach very much about Holocaust. They don't teach very much about Pearl Harbor, if anything at all. And our parents remember Pearl Harbor. There are very few people in this room who were alive at the time of Pearl Harbor. We're going to make it visible again. We're going to have the support of the JCC, JCRC, Jewish War veterans from the local post. We're going to have the support of police agencies from Cherry Hill to others all around this area. But I need your support also. So on September 6th, show up about 9 o'clock in the morning. Or 9:30 if you want to be here 9:30. I'll be here 8 o'clock in the morning. The reason I said 9 o'clock and we've been advertising 9:30 is because the JCC was saying 9 o'clock. I don't care what time you come here. We're going to have 3,000 flags out here. We'll tell you where to put the flags. It's going to look wonderful. But the main reason for this is we're showing that Jews are patriotic, especially for those people passing by every day that don't even know what this building's for. Please be here.
Nelson, also call me.
Call me, thank you. We're going to put, Steve suggested this a couple of years ago, I think it was, Steve Sunshine, put some flags out in front of the synagogue across the street, call me, and we did that. Go ahead, Steve.
I suggest if you come to bring a long screwdriver
Yeah.
so you can dig a hole in the ground because the wooden things for the flags can break.
Good suggestion. Last year, I don't think it rained for a while. I don't know what happened. It was really hard to get those flags in there. We broke a lot of flag staffs.
And work gloves are good too.
Work gloves, you should have that, a lot of suntan lotion.
Now, can I say something on that?
Well, in a second. Okay, so again, just to repeat the date, it's Friday, September 6th, 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning. And we'll tell you when we're going to remove the flags later on, but just keep that date in mind, that time in mind, and please come on by. Thank you.
Now, on that day, Steve mentioned about using a large screwdriver. I don't know if you've seen it, but you know the power drills, cordless. But sometimes I bought 3 drill heads like this. So if you have one of those, I think they're about 14, 15 inches. It's easier than going down on your knees and trying to hammer it in. But one way or another, we're going to make it easy. And Nelson came up with a way of doing it a lot quicker. We're going to make it into 5 zones. The one side, up to the corner, people working like this. That's 2. Other side like this. And we also did it, you know, the little islands in front of in the parking lot. We did that across there, so that's 5. And we'll set it up as 5 units with people in charge of each. And I'm bringing 3 drills and 3 of the long drill bits. If you have something like that, bring it.
Okay, with the electric drills, Mike has to use them first to make sure there's no power lines underneath. But that's okay, he's a past president, we don't need
Yeah, Bob?
If you don't have an electric drill, if you have a weeder, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
The weeder works fine. It's got a point on the front, and it goes right into the ground.
Right. And one last thing, forgot to mention. We have some of these articles from The Voice from last month, actually from the beginning of this month. This is the article about the donation of, remember I told you $3,600 worth of materials? This is a picture of a stack of them and a group of us, and from the JCC and from the Jewish War veterans. We have some extra copies on that table in the front. So that's something else. Any questions? And don't forget, if you want to go to the Science History Institute, let me know. We'll have a paper to sign up. I'll be up here. Thank you.
Any other issues before we go to the speaker? Yes.
I'll just say it from here. So every month I've been asking people to bring food and books because of the donations we give to the charity for food. And also our books get donated if you don't use them. I was convinced I'm not very good at guilt tripping because we don't usually get a turnout. We had a huge turnout today. I want to thank the people who brought the books and the food.
And the eyelash.
And the eyeglasses, thank you.
Okay, Ed?
Hey, before he goes up, there's a fantasy football meeting immediately after this meeting for 5 minutes. Those are mine.
I also wanted to let you all know again, and we sent an email out earlier this week, we're trying to organize a trip to the Sam Aziz Museum, and it's a synagogue actually that I believe is still open for some of the holidays, for the high holidays in Woodbine, New Jersey. Woodbine's sort of between Vineland and Sea Isle City. It's about an hour from here. It's 50 miles from Cherry Hill. We were there in 2016. We did an outing there. It's actually owned by Stockton University now, and there's a director there who is in charge of it. And it starts with a little bit of history by the director and so forth. A museum tour. It's not very large. It was very interesting, and then we did lunch. There's a restaurant in Woodbine. Woodbine's about 2 blocks long. There's a restaurant there that's set up in the old butcher shop that was in Woodbine. And if you saw the email, we'll send out another one. I'm trying to gauge interest to see whether we have enough people who want to go. I think last time we had about 10 people who went, 5 couples. We did it with another group that I'm familiar with. And it was a great outing. So if you see the email, we'll put one more out. Just send me a response. My email address is on the email. Let me know you're interested. We'll pick a date, and hopefully most of you who are interested will be able to participate.
And how was the restaurant?
The restaurant was good. It was interesting, a little bit different, kind of an eclectic menu, but something for everybody, nothing real fancy and reasonably priced. So, anyway, good morning. As you all know from the emails that have gone out, our speaker this morning is Barry Forman, who's been a longtime member of the club. He is a photography, I think he did it for a living, am I right, Barry? Yeah, I think he did it for a living. He's going to tell you more about himself, but anyway, the subject is drones and photography. I understand that he gave one of our members a demonstration and tore up some clothing or something with one of his drones. I've heard that said before, but he's not doing that this morning, so don't worry. Anyway, Barry?
Ed,
Yes?
please remind people.
Cell phones. Good, Bob. Please turn off your cell phones. Barry? And welcome to Barry's wife, Rhoda, this morning. She's with us.
Good morning. My name is Barry Forman, and I approve this message. How could I not say that this week, right? Here we go. I've been a member here for a couple of years, and I was recruited by the best recruiter, Ron Ettinger, who probably recruited half the people here, and he brought me into the group. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but you didn't know that until I opened up my mouth. I went to the famous Madison High School. Our high school had people such as Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, Carole King, Sonny Werblin, some of you might remember, people like that. New York Jets, right, and me. I moved to the South Jersey area, I took a job in 1974 with a company called Fujifilm, and you've all heard of Fujifilm, and I was the Fuji man for 10 years, and my territory was South Jersey, state of Delaware, and the entire state of Pennsylvania. Big state. So I was traveling quite a bit. And then, 10 years later, Canon, you've heard of the Canon camera company, decided to go into the video business. And when Ed said I was a professional photographer, I was really a professional videographer. We'll get into that. So Canon decided to get into the video business, and they had an opening in the same territory I was covering for Fuji, so I went over to that. While I was with them, I was starting to learn a little bit about it because I knew nothing about videography in those days. It was VHS, Super VHS, they were getting into 8mm. I never saw or handled a video camera, but I was starting to get good at it. So in the late 80s, I started doing weddings and bar mitzvahs in this area. And there's some of you out there right now, I know you're out there, yeah, there you go, whose kids I've done. But the one who really takes the cake, again, is Ron Ettinger. Not only did I do his son's bar mitzvah, but when Ron and Hope got married, I think it was 24 years ago, I did their wedding. So he was quite a customer of mine. Yeah, that's right. In the year 2000. I want you to understand a few things. Number one, I'm not an expert on anything. And I say that because there's going to be questions coming my way. And I'm going to have the same answer. I don't know, you know? I'm a hobbyist. I have a lot of fun doing certain things. And we're going to have some fun doing certain things here like that. But before I forget anything, big shout out to Randy, because none of this would take place without Randy. We're gonna show some things on the screen here, and he's going to be operating it. And keep in mind, and you're all aware of this, when you take a picture, a video, still picture, and you stretch it, whoop, what happened to everybody? It's okay. Oh, please, not yet. Oh.
I didn't do that.
Lights, please.
That was me.
I can't read my notes. Oh, all right, I have to think. How many people left? I was good. All right, we gave the shout out to Randy. And being that I'm not an expert, I have to refer to some notes. I'll try not to read, but just have to see, because I know I'm going to forget a lot of stuff. And I know 2 in the morning when I get up to go to the men's room, and I got to remember all the things I forgot. So I need everybody's cell phone number, okay? So this way I can call and tell you, what I forgot, because it's important things here. I want you to understand, I was talking about stretching before the lights went out. That's right. All the pictures and videos that are stretched lose quality, focus. So everything you're going to see here today looks great on my cell phone. Fabulous. It looks real nice on my laptop, and it looks pretty good on my TV at home. But when you stretch things out, we're going to lose some color, we're going to lose some things, so we're not here to win any awards. But what I am here to do, what I want to do today, I'm not here to show you pretty pictures and some nice video. This is going to be a teaching moment. I want to teach everybody a few things and how I do things. Because everyone who makes video or movies, whether you're Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock, John Ford, Barry Forman, we all have a way of doing things. And I want you to see how I do things, because most of my videos are approximately 2 minutes long. Some are less than 1 minute, some are close to 3 minutes. But I want you to learn things, and from the very beginning, you'll be learning some things here. I also wanted to mention, while I was doing my videos of bar mitzvahs and weddings and things like that, I started that in '88. In '95, I suddenly became widowed, and doing the weddings of bar mitzvahs was very, very good therapy, because all of a sudden I was single, but it was nice putting on a tuxedo and going to a party every now and then, ending up at Woodcrest Country Club or somewhere like that. So it worked out, but I was getting older, and I knew that I couldn't be doing that forever. Some weekends I had 3 weddings of bar mitzvahs. On 2 occasions I had 4. Once I almost had 5, but I turned down a Sunday night one because I knew that would be too much. But I knew I was getting older, so I started another business. I started doing depositions, video depositions for the legal business, for attorneys. A lot of people go on jury duty. You hardly see a live witness. They just say, "Counselor, call up your next witness," and he'll say, "By video I have, so-and-so." And I did that for a while because I wanted to get out of that business, and I really wanted to get back to a real normal life, and I was very lucky. In the year 2000, I met a very nice widowed lady, and a few years later, we got married, and and we're together 21 years. So things worked out. The pandemic ended all my working life. It ended everything, and it worked out pretty well because I was thinking about it. And when I was thinking, what am I going to do in retirement, my initial thoughts were getting a nice 35 millimeter type SLR digital camera. Now, I know a lot of you out there have probably, back in the 70s and 80s, had a nice Minolta, Nikon, Canon, Fuji, maybe whatever. And a lot of things I'm going to say you're going to understand, because we talk about filters, lenses, aperture, things like that. I'm not going to get too crazy about that, but you'll have an understanding on certain things I'm going to say and show. It keeps coming up there. I'm not touching anything. Okay. But what I want to do here is talk a little bit about equipment and show you a few things I have and stuff like that. I think the best thing to do is first I'll show some still pictures, and then I'll show you the video after lunch. Ed, after lunch, right? You said, right? Well, you said I could talk for 4 hours. Or did you say I could talk for an hour? I mentioned lunch and Rob jumped 10 feet. All right. Okay, we'll go from there. All right. I just want to show you a few little things here, and you'll be able to understand this. The first piece of equipment I want to show you is obsolete. When I got this, I was real hot stuff. DV cam. I got this in like 96, 97, and it was fabulous.
What did it cost you?
And, well, you know, this cost me approximately, and I bought it used. I bought a lot of equipment used because B&H Photo in New York is a wonderful place to deal with. When you buy used equipment from them, they rate it from 10 down, and it'll say 10 excellent, and I've never had a problem. Brand new, this would have been close to $6,000, and I believe I paid like $3,200, $3,300, got a case with it and some other things, and it worked out well. But this was the last camera I had that handled tape, and it's the last camera for a couple of reasons. One thing that replaced that, am I making a point? I'm not saying there are guys out there shooting weddings and bar mitzvahs and doing deposition with these, but you can't. You can't imagine all the years that I've been in cameras and video, etc. This still blows me away. The quality of these things and what they could do, and besides the phone itself, all the apps you could get. We went to a wedding, my wife and I, about 2-3 years ago down in Cape May. Our neighbor's daughter got married, and I was a guest, which I wasn't used to, because I'm always used to working at a wedding. But I was a guest, but after a while, I couldn't take it anymore. So I got my phone out, and I took a little video here, I took a little video there, a little video, and all the editing that I do, as you'll see, 100% I use the phone. My 12-year-old grandchildren use computers, but I use the phone. There's so much you could do with it. Well, anyway, that night of the wedding, after the wedding, we went back to the hotel room at night, and I put together a little video. I added some music, I added some titles, and then I did the greatest thing you could imagine. I sent it to the bride's parents. So Sunday morning, when they got up and went to the family brunch, they had a 2-3 minute video of the wedding the night before. And it probably worked out well, because when the next daughter got married, they invited us to that one. So, even though I don't recall if I did anything like that. But nevertheless, these things have replaced things, and we're just going to take a look at the notes here. So anyway, cameras like that have been replaced, not just by this, but the SD card, the cameras with the SD card. And you know, there's an SD card in your phone, and there's an SD card in your cameras that you have, if you indeed do have cameras. And some of the greatest things about that is you never run out of film. You always had that problem. And all you guys out there who had that 35mm camera in the 70s and 80s, I don't care how much film you brought. When I worked for Fujifilm, I got free film, I got free processing, and whenever I went on vacation, after that third day, I was out of film. I couldn't get over it. You're always using film, but that's all in the past now. These SD cards are fabulous, and you could use them over and over and over and over. So the phone is a tremendous thing. And there's so many things you could do. One thing, this clips on to my phone. All it is a mirror. And things you could do with it are outrageous. Now, I have a YouTube channel and an Instagram page. And before we part company today, I'll have that information up there, and you'll see some things I did with this. And again, I'm no expert, but I have 2 or 3 pictures that, if you have a lot of imagination, there's no end to what you can do. Speaking of phone, I have a great tip for a lot of you, because this has happened to every person here, and you might not even realize it. How many times have you either been walking on the boardwalk, walking in Midtown Manhattan, even in your backyard, it's hot out, and you look at your phone, it's so dark, and you want to make it brighter? See, the sun and the heat make your phone darker to keep it cooler. And it's a problem. I've been out shooting pictures sometimes with the phone. I'm running to Wawa where they have the ice cream and throwing my phone in there for a few minutes. And many times I've done that, and there's 2 or 3 phones already in there. There's other guys and gals out there doing the same thing. It's happened many times. Well, you can't change the heat. But when the sun is beating down, a white case for $5 at 5 below will do the trick. It saved my life many, many times. You always have to remember, summertime, it's going to happen. With the Apple phones, the other phones, there's no question about it. That will do it. All right. I mentioned that, checking things out here. All right. We're going to look at our first picture here. And if you could shut the lights, Mr. Ettinger. Oh, and the picture's already there. Look at that. Now, there's a reason why I have this picture here. This is it's just a tree. But I was walking in my neighborhood, and I saw this tree. If it was 1975, what would I have said to myself? You know what I would have said to myself? Gee, I wish I had my camera with me. But we don't have to say that anymore because the camera is in your pocket. So I just want to mention, and I'm going to mention this many times, you take what you get, and you get what you take. I just happened to be walking by, and there's a tree, and you're able to do this, and every person in this room now, well, mostly every person in this room now, has a phone with a camera, and you could do this. You could stand up here next year and show us your pictures. But this is so wonderful about photography today. It's something for everybody. Can I have the lights, please, so I can see my notes? This is the phone all by itself. Now, every now and then there's some problems with the phone. Many of you here, with your phone, have taken your phone out and have done some video. What's the problem with that? Many times. How does that video look? The worst thing is when someone else takes a video and shows it to you, and the video is up like that, and they're trying to show you the grandchildren or something like that. Stabilization is important. Now, this is the iPhone 15. It's got built-in stabilizer. Pretty good. However, gentlemen,
Samsung.
this is called the Osmo OM6. And what this does, it looks like a selfie stick, especially when you extend it. And you put this clip on, and you put the phone on the clip. I'm not going to put the whole thing together right now. And it's got 1, 2, 3, like gyroscopes, that make this thing wonderfully smooth, as you're going to see in a minute here. Randy told me we're having some technical difficulties with the next one, but there's even one after that. When I got the, not yet. I see you there, man. Not yet. If you want me to use you next time, remember. This cost me like $159. It's now down to like $129, and there's so many more that wherever you go, people, even with the 35mm type cameras, have units like this. And what it does, it stabilizes things. Now, lights. All right, now look at this. Look how smooth. I'm just walking here. And see that jitter? That's not me. But you're getting the idea that it's very smooth. All right, the next one is a 15-second video. You're going to love this one. It's kids playing soccer, some of the grandchildren. Keep this in mind. Not only are they running, I'm running with them. And this thing holds things so smooth. Lights, Mr. Randy. Now watch this. Look how smooth this is. No up and down. So you got an idea. It was a quick one, but I just wanted you to get an idea. Now there's other things that this thing does that is just fabulous. It has tracking. And what tracking is, if I had everything set up and I was taking a video of Rob here, and I just held this, and I wanted to track him, if he got up and walked away, it would follow him, no matter where he went. I have a granddaughter, plays high school basketball. I could stand on one end of the court, put her in there, she runs up and down. All I have to do is just stand there, and it just tracks. It's fabulous. It even gets improved every year. They improve it better, because it used to be when another player got in her way, I would lose her and get the other kid. Don't know how it does it. It always has her on track. So it's fabulous. You know, let's say you want to do a video at home. You're making a video. You want to do a cooking video, or you have a workbench in the basement and you do woodworking. You put this on a tripod and you're videotaping yourself as you walk around or grab something or come here or whatever. It'll follow you. Smooth. Very, very smooth. So these stabilization things are just wonderful. It also does other things such as a 1-minute story. There's a guy on YouTube, fabulous guy. He has a business where he makes commercials for local businesses to put on cable TV. He has a great reputation. He gets $8,000, $10,000, $11,000 to shoot a commercial. Gets a call from a guy. He says, look, I have 5 coffee shops in Cleveland. I just did one over. It's beautiful. I want to do a commercial. I want you to do it. And on the phone, they decided on the price and everything, and it was all a done deal. So the videographer says to the coffee shop owner, this is important. Are you going to be there when I shoot it? Now, why did he ask that question? The coffee shop owner says, no, I have to be in St. Louis. Okay. The reason why he asked, now he could show up to shoot this thing for $11,000 with just this and his phone. If this guy he's paying $11,000 come, he's got to bring the big camera, lights, 2 assistants, 3 microphones to let him know, look what you're getting for your $11,000. But I understand that. You know, when I was doing weddings and bar mitzvahs, 91, 92, the big VHS cameras were still out, but the smaller cameras were coming in. And some people were like, that's a toy. And I lost a couple of jobs because some people said to me, what type of camera are you going to be shooting with? And I would say to them, I'm not here to sell you a camera. I'm here to talk about your daughter's wedding, your son's bar mitzvah. And most people understood that, but some people did not. And I said, a lot of guys still have those cameras because when they bought it on a 3-year loan, and they're still paying it off. That's why they're using it. I said, it's get with it, man. It's 1992. This is what you use. And the cameras are getting smaller and better. So people just didn't understand a lot of things like that. You know, speaking about that business, the wedding business, the deposition business, you know, I don't know if I mentioned this. These weren't businesses I bought. I started those on my own. I started them from scratch. I always like to say I started with nothing and I still have most of it left. But, you know, that's the working life, right? So, as great as this is, could there be something better? Let's take a look. I'm glad you asked. Look at this. Can you believe this? Wow. How do you turn this on? See, you just turn that little screen. This is a gimbal by itself with a built-in camera. Now, there are still certain things that does better than this. That has a better zoom, the phone. This zoom isn't real great. But this can shoot in 4K, which is the key word these days. Slow motion in 4K. The phone, when you go to 4K, it drops down to 780. I'm not technical, I know. But also, what's great about this is you could just walk around like that. We go to New York a lot, and you're always running into celebrities. And sometimes you just want to go like that. With the thing I just showed you, you know, you got to set it up and all that, and you can't walk around. But this is great. It's called the Pocket 3. And if you notice in the front, there is a filter on that. So you guys who had those 35 millimeter cameras, you know the importance of filters. And this has a tremendous array of filters. And these filters are on by a magnet. I can't begin to tell you how strong this magnet is. This magnet is so strong, I've only lost 6. So I know the Pocket 4 will have some improvements, and maybe it'll be the magnet. But this has a feature called low light, and I'm going to show you some low light video real soon. We'll get to that. And by low light, it means either artificial light, light at night, and sometimes when it's real dark, and you'll see some. You can't use slow motion and low light at the same time. It's either one or the other, and there's a video here where you have to make that decision. However, you could shoot in low light, for those that are taking notes, you could shoot in low light and then slow it down in your editing. And where do we do the editing? On the phone, all on the phone. You know, when I go to a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment and they say, sit down, he'll be with you in a few minutes, I don't take a 3-year-old People magazine to read. I take out my phone, I'm editing. I always have something to edit. There's always something going on in my phone, and it's always with me. This 21st century is fabulous. So this is the Pocket 3. You can take the Pocket 3 and put it on something like this and extend it. Now, we go to Manhattan a lot, sometimes Philadelphia, lots of areas where you're not allowed to use a drone, or you don't want to use a drone. And you'll see people walking by, it looks like a gigantic stick. In fact, you could go to Home Depot or Lowe's in the paint department and get a 15, 18-foot extension, you know, to paint the ceiling, and put one of these on top. And sure, now, what happens? When this is on top, I can't see the screen. I know you were thinking about that. So, I have a little bracket here. Whoops. The phone goes on that. So I could look at the phone and operate it. I could work the zoom, I could work the gimbal, all from here, and that could be as high as 18 feet if I get one of those things from Lowe's. And next time you're in a downtown area and you see people walking around like that, they're not changing light bulbs on the lamppost there. They're taking some video that when you see the finished video, you'll think it's great drone work. It really, really is. And you'll see in some of my videos, I do some drone work and some work like that. Let me just check the notes so you get to see all these things. Ah, yes. As good as that is, it even gets better. What is this, Barry? What are you showing me? You take this, you're going to love this. You put it on here like that. The gimbal locks on the horizon. So as you're walking or running, it is smooth as silk. Like you can't imagine how a little $40 contraption does this. And again, if I do it like this and put it on that, I could also put the phone on the bottom and you get to see that. So there's just certain things out there that are just unbelievable. I call these third-party accessories. You know, it's not made by the manufacturer. Incidentally, the Pocket 3, the gimbal, and the drone are all made by DJI. Great company to deal with. DJI has great customer service, great products. They're Chinese. You know, back in the 70s, when you had your Minolta, your Nikon, whatever it was, the Japanese owned the whole world. You know, everything we had was Panasonic, Sony, things like that. Well, things have taken a little shift and they're coming from China. And they're fabulous. The Chinese people are putting out some wonderful, wonderful things. And I also had to mention one other thing here on this. There's a feature they call glamour. I don't use it because I do scenery stuff, as you'll see. I don't do people. But they have a feature called glamour, which will take away wrinkles, bags under your eye, and it does a pretty good job. You know, I took one shot of myself one day, I didn't know who it was, you know? But it's amazing what they do. It's absolutely amazing what they do. All right. We were talking about tracking. You're going to absolutely love this one. I'm going to show you a video of a grandson coming down a mountain, Blue Mountain, up in the Poconos. You're not going to be able to see him because he's so far away. But I want you to see, I was just standing there holding this gimbal, had him on the tracking, press record, and you'll see now it's in slow motion. Because it's in slow motion, it's twice as long, which means it's 14 seconds instead of 7. And I added some music, but I just want you to see how smooth this is and how great the tracking is. Lights, please. Ronald, lights, and Randy, if we could show Max Wheeler, my grandson. This has sound. And as you can see, this is... See, you can't see him. He's on top of the mountain. But he's coming down. Sorry it's so loud here.
That's slow motion?
And that's slow motion.
Wow.
All right, one more thing on the gimbal. This is a still shot. This gimbal, you put it on a tripod, press a certain button. Oh, let's take a look at the next one. Oh. Oh. I'm sorry if I'm blocking you.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Now, see what this is? You see there's how many people in this picture? 4. All right, there's 2 people, because that's, my wife is in the middle, and I'm the third guy. I'm the other guy. See, left, right, in the middle? So what it does, it takes a picture, and it moves over, takes another picture, and moves over, and puts it together very nicely. And that just, just to show you can have a lot of fun with these things. And, I don't use these in a commercial sense, but there are people making great livings, doing great things if you have the right imagination. So that's just something I wanted you to see there. You hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
So it looks like CinemaScope.
Oh, yeah, it does. It's nice and wide. Does some real wide stuff. Another thing that this gimbal can do is time-lapse. Now, what it's going to do, we're going to look at the Ben Franklin Bridge.
Oh, that's good.
We're going to look at the Ben Franklin Bridge. We're on a tripod, and I'm moving from left to right, but the clouds in the sky are moving right to left, and the sun's coming down. This time-lapse runs for 27 seconds. It was an hour. So this was an hour. All right.
No, this is good.
If you could show us the next one. Notice gimbal's moving left to right. Clouds are moving right to left. The lights on the bridge are going to go on. So I just wanted you to see the fun you could have with these things, with time lapses and stuff like that. You could do time lapses and motion lapse or like that. All right, now the next one we're going to look at is a teaching moment. So if you could shut the lights, here we go. Now see what this says? I put this together a long time ago, so I have to read it again. Film editing is the heartbeat of storytelling. It's just not about cutting scenes, it's about sculpturing emotions, building tension, and creating a seamless flow that captures the audience. And that's very important, because if you're telling a story in a 2-minute video or a long movie, I mean, Oppenheimer, how many people saw Oppenheimer? 3 hours. Yeah. Remember that movie, The Green Mile? 3 hours. I mean, unbelievable how long it is. But see what it says? You have to capture the audience because you're telling a story. So even if you're showing a video of the Ben Franklin Bridge that lasts 27 seconds, you're still telling a story. All right. So that's very, very important. Now, I'm going to show you my drone in a minute, but as long as the lights are out, I want to show you What I do not wear when I'm flying my drone, but what I could wear. Could we see the next picture, please? This is a t-shirt. So this is just something, just to show you things here.
You should add number 9, do not use indoors.
Do not. I do use indoors sometimes, but you have to be careful. Now you see number 4, legally 400 feet. Yes, drones, they can, and you can do it anytime you want, but legally you can't go more than 400 feet, and the reason for that is aircraft can't fly under 500 feet. So they want to have that buffer there so they don't meet accidentally. Also, it says here, 25 minutes, and that is the battery. Most of them have a 25 or 30-minute battery, and I'm going to show you my batteries. I got some extra ones that are 47 minutes. Oh, we have a question?
Yes, how do you know the height?
All right. You have a remote control in your hand. Tells you everything, everything. How high it is, how far it is, how safe it is. By your phone has those bars on it to tell you if you get a reception. On your remote control screen, when the bars turn yellow, you start to get nervous. When they turn red, you're in trouble. And it happens. Most drones have an automatic RTH, return to home. So when it's in trouble, it'll automatically come back. That'll happen when it goes too far, because the drone can say to itself, I have 10 minutes worth of batteries, and I'm 8 minutes away, it'll come back. Very, very important. Now, of course, during that time, if it got real windy out, you're not ever going to see that drone again. Let me tell you from experience. You're not a real drone pilot until you could safely say and proudly say, yeah, I lost a few of those. It happens. Because it's going up out of the air, man, and you don't know where it's going to go. You can hit something, be somewhere. You have to be very, very careful. Now you see number 6 is 35 plus miles an hour. It has 3 speeds. I usually use the slowest speed, which is about 8 to 10 miles an hour. But let me tell you, as Ron will tell you in the house, that's fast enough. My new drone does go to about 40 miles an hour. I very, very rarely use that. You use that when you want to get somewhere or get back, or if you're doing a type of scene, which I really don't. Now, number 7, it says over a mile away, which means the range. When you open up the book of my drone, and it has the specifications, and it says range, it says, and I always laugh, 7 miles. Are you kidding me? 3,000 feet is a lot, and I feel comfortable at between 1,000 and 2,000 feet. I've had it as much as 6,000 feet, but you're only going to get that when there's no obstacles. Everything admits Wi-Fi interference, trees, buildings, wires. So if I go down to Ventnor, Margate, and I go out over the ocean, well, there's no trees, there's no wires. I could go forever, forever. I only have to worry about landing in the ocean, that's all. But you get the range. Also, if you're in Death Valley, California, or the surface of the moon, you will get great range. But ordinarily, the law says you have to have visual sight of your drone. They call it VLOS, visual line of sight. Well, you're going to see my drone in a minute. It's smaller than my phone. Until you extend the legs out and the propellers, 100, 200 feet, you can't see that drone. But legally. And you don't have to worry, because whether you're flying too high or too fast, no one's jumping out of the bushes with handcuffs. You just have to fly responsibility. Responsible flying is very, very important. And number 8, no, you can't fly. That's for all of you people in here, okay? I'm sorry. Question over there.
Barry, do these have to be registered?
That was my next thing. Very good, very good. The question is, do they have to be registered? The reason I have the drone that I have, the DJI Mini 3, is because it weighs under 250 grams. The law says anything under 250 doesn't have to be registered, don't have to have insurance, but anything higher, you got to take a test, FAA 107. If you use it commercially, you have to have insurance. So no, I am considered a hobbyist. But you still have to fly responsibly, because you could be flying somewhere and someone could be walking their dog and have a bug up, and be upset. And take out their phone, call 911, you got 3 police cars there. And even though you're allowed to, you have to remember to be responsible. About 2 years ago, I was in Long Bridge Park in Hainesport. Nice park. And I was out there flying my drone, having a wonderful time, getting some pretty good stuff. And there were some workers there, raking leaves. Guy was fixing a fence and all that. How you doing? Nice to see you. When I walked back to my car, there was a big sign, no drones allowed. I said, oh, God. So I walked over to the guy, and I said, look, I probably look like a real damn fool flying that drone and waving hello to you. And the guy said, look, it's Tuesday morning. You're the only one here. It's 9 o'clock. On the weekends, we have parties, we have kids, He said, you want to come in the morning like this? Not a problem. About a year later, I went back to that park, and I was getting my drone ready, and one of these guys recognized me. He goes, oh, no, you can't fly. I said, hey, it's Tuesday morning. He said, it's not you. There's people who come, they bring their drone, they chase dogs. We have kids' parties. They fly 10 feet over the kids for laughs and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people out there who make it bad for other people. So you have to be responsible. I do a lot of drone flying sitting in my car. Because when you're sitting in the car, number one, you got the heat in the winter and you got the air conditioner in the summertime, and you could plug in your batteries and things like that, and it's nice and comfortable, and no one's bothering you. I love to talk about drones, but not when I'm flying. Because when you're flying and people come over and question stuff like that, you really have to concentrate. You really do. So sitting in a car is a wonderful thing. And I recommend it highly. So before you fly, there's different apps. It'll tell you how windy it is. It'll tell you the temperature out there. And there's another app that's also wonderful that tells you, indeed, if you're allowed to fly. And by that I mean, when Mr. Biden goes to his summer place in the Delaware area, I can't lift my drone off the ground. There's ways they jam it up, and it'll say on this app, presidential advisory in 2 hours. Or it'll say anything like that. I live on Route 38 in Hainesport. I'm not that far from Fort Dix McGuire Air Force Base. And as I get closer to that, I get these notifications. Maybe that day at McGuire, they're having a lot of planes coming in. I can't take off. And these are things that they have out there just to keep people with drones safe, and they do that. It's very, very nice, where that someone's looking out for you, because, you could go to, right now, this afternoon, you could go to Best Buy, buy a drone, fly it over the Jersey Turnpike, and crash it on someone's windshield who's doing 70 miles an hour. It could happen. So there's a lot of people out there who do not fly responsibly, and sometimes you hope that they put their foot down, because it's only going to make it bad for the rest of us. We're going to take a look at the drone. So this is a carry case to keep it stored. When you're out for the day having a good time walking around, you don't want to carry that. So you carry a soft case like this. You could put the drone in here, the remote controller, and a couple of batteries. But here is a drone, some batteries, and the remote controller. and we'll take it out. And you can see the drone is really the size of the phone until you extend. Now the red tape is to deter birds. Big problem with that, a lot of birds don't know that. If you're flying near trees where the birds are nesting, they will be very aggressive. And I know I've lost one because of that. Has a filter on there. These are not magnetic filters, so these filters stay on real nice. And Ron Ettinger, I'm not going to fly it right now. I know you're getting nervous because you see a drone inside. All right, but this is it. And this is the remote control. Now there are remote controllers. This has a screen, so everything the drone sees, I see. And it tells you the speed, the height, and where you're going, and things like that. Some controllers don't have a screen. You use your phone. The problem with that is you can't make calls, and also the screen might get dark. I've been, before I had this one, I would be on the beach in Ventnor, Margate with an ice cooler, and I'd have to put my phone in there every now and then while my drone is 2,000 feet away. I couldn't see it, and I was hoping, please cool down, cool down. But you always have to have, for $4, one of these, because you're going to drop it every now and then. And if you're standing on a pier or a beach, you don't want to drop it in the water, things like that. Now, 3 questions people always ask about drones. How high, how far, how much? So how high is 400 feet? And how far, as I mentioned before, I like to go out 1,000 feet maybe. I do like to see it, but many times you're not able to get close to something. Sometimes you just can't park your car in someone's driveway and go do droning or something like that. You know, I don't want to say anything bad about South Jersey. But I've lived here for 50 years. I'm in touch with people all over the country. I love YouTube and all that. There's this guy in California. We send stuff back and forth. He lives 20 minutes from Big Sur. A lot of you have been there. Beautiful, the ocean, the cliffs. There's another guy, he lives in Florida. 20 minutes from the Everglades. Beautiful. I mean, what? More than just alligators. There's this gal, she's 20 minutes from the Grand Canyon. Lives in Arizona, Nevada area. Beautiful stuff. I live in Hainesport, New Jersey. I live 20 minutes from the Cherry Hill Mall. All these people I just mentioned, when they go on maps and see where exactly I live, they get a little jealous, I know, because they realize in order for me to get to the Cherry Hill Mall, I first have to pass the Moorestown Mall. So, you know, we have no mountains here. We have no waterfalls. Like that tree you saw in the beginning, you get what you take what you get. Yeah, you can go down to the shore, you can go to the Poconos, but all you guys who had cameras, as we spoke before, you know, you get your best stuff in the morning after the sun comes up, golden hours, later in the day before the sun comes down. So if you're going to be at the Jersey Shore for that, you're leaving your house at 4 in the morning. And I have some stuff here, as you'll see. And if you're going to go to the Poconos, I mean, it'd be so nice to do all that stuff. And I have to remind myself, I'm not as young as I used to be. I always have to remind myself, I'm not 75 anymore. You know, you have to remember, you get what you take and you take what you get. So these are the important things. You know, let's take a look here. I don't do a lot of still photography. Most of the stuff I do is video. And a little secret here. A lot of my still pictures are from a video, and I take a screenshot from the phone. You know how to do that. It's not that complicated. But the pictures I'm going to show you here, a few of them, before lunch, right, Ed? Before. All right, anyway, the pictures I'm going to show you here are actual still pictures. So Ronald, if we can go to the first picture, can you make that bigger? There you go. There you go. All right, here we are. There it is. Your Philadelphia Art Museum in the back. If you look at the very bottom of the picture, you see that white gazebo? Yeah. That's where Barry's standing, in the white gazebo. And I'm about 300 feet up, and I took this a couple of years ago, and it was freezing. It was the only picture I took. And I had to get back in my car. And this was taken with the Mini 1. Now there's the Mini 1, the Mini 2. I now have the Mini 3, so there's a lot of other things on there. But I just want you to see, you know, I was just getting into it at the time, and it was a pretty good picture. You know, I didn't have to drive to the Poconos or drive out down to the shore or who knows where. But I always kind of like that picture. If we can see the next picture, and Eddie's up, there you go. Now, the last picture, I was about 300 feet up. Here, I'm only like 50 feet up. And this is the Ben Franklin Bridge from Camden. And yeah, I enhanced the color a little bit. But by getting a little higher than a 6-foot person, you get a different perspective in how things could look. And I was lucky the clouds showed up and the lights were going on. So, you know, that's a still picture. All right, if we see the next one. Aha! Who knows what this is? All right, 4 baseball courts. This is Laurel Acres Park. I had to wait for everyone to go home to get that picture. Because I didn't want people in my... But, you know, with a little bit of imagination, I know so many people who look at this picture for hours and don't know what it is. But not this group. All right, you guys know just what it is. Very good. All right, now I wanted to mention, I think I did mention Mini 1, Mini 2, Mini 3, and this is the Mini 3. And every one has more features than the one before. And I think I mentioned before about losing a drone. We've all had disappointments in our life. There is nothing worse than standing there holding your remote controller. And at one time or another, you've all seen a movie of a helicopter crash. And you know how you see the helicopter, it's going down, around, and around. Well, when you're looking at your remote control, and you see around and around, and planet Earth getting real close, real fast, and you're screaming there, no drone! And it happens. I've lost one here, I lost one there. In fact, it is such a feeling where your heart goes into your stomach. There's no way you could even tell you that unless it happens to you. I had insurance on this one, and I lost it. Got a new one 3 weeks later. I went out, I lost it right away. I lost 2 in 3 weeks. And you want to feel, I mean, I can't begin to tell you how your heart goes into your stomach goes into your heart, your liver changes with your lungs. It's terrible. It's terrible. And the look on your face, you can't hide it. And I know you can't hide it. Because I walked into my house, and my wife says, oh, you lost another one, huh? Yes. The worst thing is, I know, I know in customer service in China, there's a guy looking at a computer screen, and he looks at it, and he yells to all his friends, hey, Forman lost another one, you know? But I was lucky when I lost that second one in 3 weeks, because then the Mini 3 came out, and it had some features on it, such as this has obstacle avoidance, which means if it's going this way and it comes to a building, it'll stop. And if it goes backwards, it'll stop, and it goes down, it'll stop. It doesn't have it going sideways, and you do a lot of sideways work, as you'll see, and it doesn't have it going up, which is important because sometimes if you're far away, you might not realize you're under a tree. And if you hit return to home, the first thing it does, it goes up. And if there's a tree there, that drone and that tree will be together for a long time. It's a shame. But you get these features. Also, the Mini 3 has a great zoom. So that means you don't have to get that close to something. You could be far away and look like you're there, which is very, very important. So what we're going to do now, folks, we're going to look at our first video. Now, Ronald, I know you're, I know. Just like rehearsal, I know. I mentioned about you get what you take what you get. We're going to take you to Mount Laurel, New Jersey, right by Hartford Road and Union Mill Road. A lot of you might have driven by there today to get here, who knows. You just drive by there and sometimes you see something, but I want you to see this video for a very, very special reason, which we'll go into. And we do have music and audio. Ronald, if you could hit the lights. Randy. And you can see this is 3 years old. Now, there's many reasons why I wanted you to see that video. Because in Hollywood, they have a term for that. It's pure dreck. All that was 7 clips, and every scene is a clip. You know, when you watch a movie, TV show, whatever, when the camera goes from person to person, it's a clip. Clip is a scene, and those were cuts. There's ways to go from clip to clip. Sometimes it's a straight cut, which they were, for those of you that are taking notes. Sometimes it's a dissolve from scene to scene. And those of you who remember 1938 Charlie Chan movies, they would fade to black and black to live. The only times you see people fade to black nowadays is at the end, when it says the end. But I do have dissolves coming up, things like that. But I want you to remember that video for a very important reason, to judge everything else, to see, hey, did Barry get better doing this? As you can see, that was 3 years old, and it was the Mini 1. And, you know, the music's pretty good. You know, speaking of music, not yet, Ronald. Speaking of music, I want to mention something on how important music is. You know, there's so many great movies that you've seen over the years that you don't realize that you liked it so much because the music was so overbearing, so great. It was just wonderful. I mean, back in the late 70s, there were some fabulous movies where when you hear the music today on the radio, you'll think of that movie. And when you see that movie, you'll think of the music. The Bee Gees and Saturday Night Fever, they sold 40 million albums from that. And it was just a fabulous album, because besides the Bee Gees, Yvonne Elliman had a hit on that, a group called Tavares from Philadelphia. And still today, you know, you hear that music. And around that time, the year before, was Rocky. Rocky was one of the greatest movies with some of the greatest music. Do you know, today, 50 years later, there's still a couple of automobile ads that use Rocky music. Now, you know the Rocky music when he runs up the stairs. They play it at the Eagle games, Phillies games, things like that. But there's other music there which you're going to hear and see, which is fabulous. And this is 50 years ago when we were younger. Well, most of you are. And it's still very, very relevant today. You know, music is very important, and I have to make a point here so you'll understand how I do things. A movie's going to be made. Before the first frame is taken, the director, in this case Steven Spielberg, a name you all know, gets together in a meeting room with all the heads of the departments. The head of lighting, head of costume, head of transportation, head of makeup. Who's sitting right here? Head of music, John Williams. I don't have a John Williams. Steven Spielberg says to John Williams, hey, I'm making a movie about a shark. There's going to be a scene where this shark is going into the beach area, people are scattering. I need 14 seconds of dun, 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 dun. You know the music. Well, 3 days later, they have a meeting, and Steven says to John, hey, you know that 14 seconds I needed 11. Make that 11 seconds, okay, very good. 2 days before the actual shooting, Steven Spielberg says to John Williams, hey, could you make that 7 seconds? Now, why is Barry telling you this? I shoot a video with the music that's already there. I have to do everything backwards. So I have to take the music and fit the video to the music, where Steven Spielberg can take his videos, his movies, and fit it any way he wants and tell John Williams, fit it to that. The reason I tell you this, when you see some of my videos, some of the cuts, see, I like to edit to the beat of the music. Sometimes it's too long, sometimes it's too short. I don't have the ability to tell my music man, John Williams, what to do. So this will answer the question you don't have to ask later, why was that so long? You know, that's how that works. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at something that is very important for school. Now, that video you just saw, and hopefully no one's forgotten it by now, it had no sexy shots. The drone went this way, it had 7 clips going that way and 1 going backwards. There was nothing to it. This next clip is 15 seconds. The drone is 300 feet up in the air. It's looking straight down at the Mount Laurel water tower. And it's going to back up. The front, this is a gimbal like this. So there's a gimbal on here. Controlling the gimbal makes all the difference in the world. So the drone is going to be backing up. The gimbal that's looking down is going to start looking up. It's like being on a backwards roller coaster and you're looking up. I want you to see this, because then you're going to see in some videos. Ronald and Randy, if you could do your thing. So see, here's the top of the water tower. We're backing up, and the gimbal is moving in such a way where you get to see the whole water tower. You see that? Now, I'm sorry for those jitters, but that's how, it wasn't like that in my original, but that's all. Because I wanted you to see that, so you have an idea of what the gimbal can do. So we did 2 things here. We backed the drone up, and we used the gimbal. Now, you could also back the drone up, use the gimbal, and maybe zoom in. There's 3 things. Or you could back up, use the gimbal, change the elevation, go sideways. The more things you do, the better it looks. If we could just have the light for a second, so I can look at my note and make sure, because I think we're going to get into this a little fancy here. This is from May 2022. We're going down to South Jersey. Route 206 and Route 38 meet at an intersection. You've all driven by there once or twice. You got the Vincenttown Diner on one corner. You have a Wawa on the another corner in South Jersey. Across the street is that Dot's Dairy Bar. White Dot. And then across the street there's a farm. Interesting. Used to be called the Greenberg Farm. I don't know what it's called now, but the Greenberg Farm, for those of you from around here. In fact, my daughter had a friend whose mom was Fran Greenberg. She was born and raised on a farm. So what's the first question about being born and raised on a farm? How do you play stickball on a farm, right? 3 haystacks is a home run. The front of the tractor is first base. Anybody who played stickball in Brooklyn knows first base was always a 54 Plymouth, right? I'm not kidding, right? You know that. You know that. All right. So what I want you to see here is this next video. I want you to see how movement is everything. In one shot, the drone's not moving. The movement's on the ground of cars going through the intersection. But the other ones are very, very important. Now, I try to edit to the beat of the music. Listen to how the music builds tension, storytelling. And this is one of the few videos I have with people in it. There's two people who you will not recognize because they're too far away. Very important. I'd like to do circular video, and we tried to get something called parallax. And parallax is when the ground is moving one way and the foreground is moving another way. So the front and back are moving like in a circle. You've seen it in a million things. This is all drone, because some of my videos are drone and gimbal. But you could do lights, music, video. Listen to the music and tension. Music a little louder, please. See the gimbal going up? So you were able to see different movements, circular, sideways, upside down. Oh, question from Mr. Stein.
5 minutes.
What?
5 more minutes.
Then we go to lunch. Is that an early lunch, Ed?
We're going to have to vote Ed off the island, because as Randy will tell you, you know how much I have left.
Cut it a little short.
Okay, I'll start talking faster. Okay. All right. We might not get to see everything, folks. You'll have to come to my house later. All right. I want you to see the next one, because as I always say, you get what you take what you get. I went down to the shore early. How early? I got to the shore. It was still dark. It was still dark. I put the drone in the air. A boat, a commercial boat is going out. The music is from Rocky, that you might recognize, might not. This is only 20 seconds. If we can show this one. That's just me getting a little autistic. That's all. All right. All right. Now, this next one, you're all going to recognize. It's down by Margate Ventnor. And I want you to see here, I use the drone and the gimbal. And I start off with a reveal shot.
Let me ask you a question. What's the difference between gimbal?
Gimbal, yes. Gimbal, it's not a letter of the Hebrew alphabet.
Oh, no.
But that's the gimbal.
It's a gadget.
Yes. All right. But in this one, it starts off with a reveal shot where I'm holding the gimbal down and going up like this in slow motion. I start off with a sand dune and a fence, and you'll see something close. You know, you see a lot of reveal shots in movies. You're watching a World War II movie. There's a squad of GIs, 10, 11 guys just walking along, and the camera backs up and reveals the fact that they're being followed by 1,000 Nazi troops. Or a John Wayne movie where 12 guys are out in the prairie somewhere, and the camera backs up, and there's 10 million Indians behind them. That's a reveal shot. So I want you to see how that reveal shot goes. Also in here, you'll notice how, in order to keep you interested, there's different elevations. One shot, I'm 300 feet up in the air. The next shot, I'm on the boardwalk. The next shot, I'm 400 feet in the air. The next shot, I'm a little lower. But also, this video has what they call in Hollywood a BAM shot. Bam! What is a BAM shot? You're watching a detective movie and someone pulls a gun. The music reacts. Detective movie, someone opens a closet, a body falls out. There's a BAM shot in this. Well, you'll see it. Lights. Artie Shaw provides the music. Here's your reveal shot. So you all saw the BAM shot, the guy flying that contraption. It was amazing. I just happened to be there, and you take what you get, and you get what you take. He just happened to be there. Question.
Are you aware there's a nude beach in South Jersey?
Yes, but Ed said 5 minutes. I'm getting a minute extra for that? All right. Okay. All right. Well, you know, I'm going to move hurriedly because Ed, don't you have to make a phone call or something? Or, all right.
11 o'clock's our limit. I think we're past it.
Oh, all right. Well, you know what? You're not going to get, all right. I'll tell you what. Can I just show 2 more?
Which one?
All right, all right. This one here, lights please. This is all gimbal. All handheld. It's the Pocket 3 and the gimbal.
How am I up for you?
I'm holding this in my hand, no drone. Well,
Jersey somewhere?
this is Dalton and New Holland up in Cranberry. The Tulip Festival. No drones allowed, all handheld.
How did you get there with no other people?
Get there early, really. Get there at 9 in the morning during the week. They're mobbed on the weekends.
How'd you get there before the meeting?
I see this commercial. I wanted to fly. Really?
All right, one more.
Barry, did you use any special?
Wait, could you, don't, hold on a second, Randy, could you? The question was?
Did you have any special filters?
Ah, great question.
Yes.
I used neutral density polarizing filters, but I have a wide angle filter lens I did not use that day. And since that time, I purchased a close-up filter, which I didn't have at the time. I can't wait to use it next year so I could get real close, and I hope next year to have some other things. Hey, this next video is the Battleship New Jersey. It made a trip up the river. I went to visit it. This is a straight down shot, 90 degrees down. This is when they were bringing the ship back from the dry dock.
You on the ship?
Not this time. Randy, if you could just show the very last one. So everybody, the ones you are not seeing today, oh, could you show that last one? Could you shut the lights for a second? If you go on my YouTube channel, or you go on my Instagram, you'll see what Ed Stein doesn't want you to see.
What beach?
And that, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your time. And I'm ending with an apology, though, because I did say a few things about South Jersey that some people might have taken personally. And I just want to say, where I live, I'm very fortunate, because where I live in Hainesport, I have access to 2 Whole Foods. I have access to 2 Wegmans. I have access to 200 Wawas. With any quick questions?
Yes. How do you deal with the any copyright issues for the music?
I'm sorry. That was on page 73 of my notes. You could use any music you want. You just go on iTunes. As long as I'm not charging admission, you could do that. I am always listening to music. Every time my wife looks at me, I always have headphones on. I'm always listening because many times when I go out to do a video, I know what music I want to use. And this way, I will fly the drone accordingly, smooth or quick or things like that. So music is so, so important. Yes, Rob?
The Ukrainian army has been using drones in Russia, and you had mentioned...
Completely different type of drone.
I'm sorry?
Completely different type of drone.
I understand that. Let me finish the question. Because they could jam you up so you couldn't get to Biden. Why aren't the Russians don't have the technology to jam up that?
Well, there are people who know how to unjam. There's a guy in Philadelphia, Philadelphia Flyer or something. He's being sued by the FAA, and because he unjams things and flies around Biden's plane and other areas he's not supposed to, and he's being fined like $200,000. He lives in his mother's basement. He's on YouTube all the time, and he's making it bad for the rest of us.
Okay,
Yes.
You go to a website called D-Fed, F-E-N-D. It's an Israeli company that actually has the most fantastic military drones you could possibly think of. Okay, if you have any questions, call me too, because we're affiliated with my company.
All right, yes.
What are some of the restrictions about where you can fly?
Well,
there used to be restrictions where you couldn't fly further than you could see.
Right.
And then there were restrictions about population.
Yeah, they don't want you to fly over stadiums full of people.
Right.
They don't want you to fly over accident scenes because helicopters are landing. And any institution, college, high school, hospital, whatever, could always post a sign, no drones. And then on the bottom it says, Barry, this means you. So I understand that. Any more questions? Then I want to thank everyone. Oh, yes?
Just a quick one. What do you do about invasion of privacy?
I pull my shades down. Well, I don't do people. I don't go into people's backyards. I mean, that is a problem.
I know.
That is a problem. And there are people who think, get a lot of jollies and doing stuff like that. I've had it happen to me. I was in a park once, flying around, and I brought my drone back to change batteries, and I could hear a drone. And I said, I'm holding it in my hand. Some guy saw me, and he thought it would be so much fun to fly his drone 10 feet over my head. And he had a big drone with big blades. And I went over to talk to him, and I said, you must be a commercial pilot or something like that. And real jerk. He said, my wife bought me this for Christmas. It's like a $5,000 drone. I said, I hope you lose it, man. You're going to end up killing someone. That's all.
She was hoping it would take them away.
For sure. All right. Okay. What do we have here? Oh, a question.
It's only one final question.
I love...
It's hunting season, so when you're out over wooded areas, what do you do to avoid the skeet shooters? You're already there.
I know they're out there. Well, interesting. Pine Barrens, all the state parks, drones are not allowed. So anytime I go to a place that I want a drone and I see drone not allowed, I get out my gimbal, my long unipod, I do some great stuff. I'm not going to go over the trees and things like that. I got some fall stuff for the leaves turning colors. You know, go on my YouTube channel, you see some nice things. Oh, and if you do go on my YouTube channel, may I suggest you subscribe to it. It doesn't cost you anything, I don't get anything, but what happens is, when I put something new on, you'll be notified and you can see what I'm doing. Some of you guys play golf, some of you go fishing. This is what I do, that's all.
Okay, just pause for a minute. We're having a meeting of the
Fantasy football, briefly, right back there.
Okay, we also have a lot of vegetables left, so if anybody needs that, and then we're going to do the 50-50.
If anybody needs that, what?
Huh?
If they need it, what?
What?
If anybody wants some of the leftover food, it'll be back there in the kitchen area.
Okay, picture.
Pick it up, pick it up.
Look in this direction.
All right. Okay.
Did you let Stan know that I don't have to pay my dues now?
Okay, 50-50.
No, it's not free dues, not for members. We got the free breakfast.
No, wait, Mark.
There's 72 in there.
Whoa,
$72.
$72.
Whoa. I got it. A little premature.
Yeah, it's cool. 3 numbers.
582.
582.
There it is.
Oh, I think somebody.
Outstanding.
Thank you very much. This was great.